situation that day. There's nothing more we can do about it or say about it, but when it comes time next year to have a car show again on Main Street, myself personally leaning towards this where adults can't get along, I might make the recommendations that there'll be no cars parked in front of Town Hall or around the Monument Square for the antique car show. They'll have to be further down on Main Street. Because I can't believe they couldn't work this out on that Sunday.
But the Roaches, he's only got 2 parking spaces.
There's only
in that store.
Right in front of the store. But Mr. Sample, who was the chairman of the Old Home Car Show, parked his vehicle right in that spot because he was upset because 2 vehicles are parked in front of Town Hall and one at the point of Monument Square.
The driveway empty.
2, it doesn't matter if their private driveway is empty or not. 2 wrongs do not make a right.
No.
And this was terrible that this happened between 2 businessmen in this town, because Mr. Sample is, and it's an activity that the town put on because it's Old Home Week Committee. But my feeling is, if we can't figure out a way to get along, then we shut off all parking in front of Town Hall on that weekend, so nobody gets it, and Monument Square stays open. They have their 2 spots. But I thought we'd accomplished something last year.
That's what it's going to say.
I
thought it was resolved last year.
It was resolved last year.
All parties concerned were.
Mr. Sample was there that morning. He talked to me when I came down to go to work. And the last thing I said to him was, do not do anything. Smile and walk away. Unfortunately, you couldn't do that. And it's just too bad. And some might not like what I had to say tonight, but I just think it's just too bad that 3 adults could not work these things out on a normal pace, and that we had to get involved again. So next year when it comes up for review again, we'll have to think hard and long about it, I think. That's all I have to say. I'll let you folks comment on that point.
No, I feel the same way. I feel as though this should have been resolved last year. I was under the impression it was, that they had talked it out, and we were all in agreement, had everybody here to speak in their behalf, and thought this was resolved. And now it goes to aggravating each other and not being adults about it. Yeah, we're gonna have to
Go away with Old Home Week.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far, but I think.
Close this year.
I think it's gonna have to, like, Ruben just said, it's gonna have to be reviewed again next year, to find out if it's gonna even be in the downtown area.
Okay, there's nothing else on the submission of public comments, questions, concerns. We'll move on to new business, which we kind of just discussed. The road parking discussion out front, we kind of took care of that. It's known now that right in front of the store, the 2 parking spots is for the Roaches. Conservation Commission, Selectmen's position, number 2. You folks have seen in there that the Conservation Commission requesting that the Selectmen's representative become a voting member of that. And then in the back there, you also have the notification from the town attorney.
As it sits right now, I'm a ex officio. So
Kind of like on the ZBA.
Right.
You're the liaison.
Lock the door and let them in, set it to meeting. Right? I can't say nothing, at the beginning, I was involved in it. And then they read the rules or whatever, and so now it's up to this board to change the status so a select rep has a right to vote on the board.
Right, I see.
This time I'm going to turn it over to Liz. She has something she'd like to put input on this.
So there are 7 voting positions on Conservation Commission, and we were under an impression for a bit of time that there were only 5, and that's why his position was not voting as the liaison. Liaisons don't vote. Ex officio members do. So the recommendation is to appoint, for the board, to appoint Selectman McDonald into one of those 2 vacancies as the BOS ex officio member. And then there will still be 1 vacancy left.
Now, let me clarify this. I thought an ex officio cannot vote. You just said he can.
An ex officio does vote according to the email from Attorney Sessler here.
Mhm.
So the liaison does not, the ex officio does.
Okay, so there is a difference between, okay, see, I thought the two were the same.
Conservation Board keeps telling me I'm an ex officio, but I can't vote.
Because and not to change this subject, but I'm also on the board of ZAC, and I have the same situation,
You're a non-voting member.
but I'm an ex officio. Do I say that right?
That should be liaison.
Your position with the ZAC committee should be a liaison, or
Liaison.
representative with no
That's
voting
what I
rights.
am, but it goes under ex officio.
So if you send that to us, we can change that too?
So technically, I'm supposed to be a non-voting member. Only to vote if there's a tie.
No, no. If you're a liaison, you have no voting rights on that board at all.
But I'm not a liaison.
It's
Probably.
interesting because when I was doing
Confusing.
it, the committee told me I could vote.
If you're an ex officio, then you have all voting powers with the board. If you're a liaison, you don't.
But ex officio means you're representing another board while on that board voting.
Mhm.
But there's a little more to this. We have to find out if the authorized membership size is 5, or if those positions are full, they can then, the Board of Selectmen cannot appoint Virgil as ex officio member now. This has to wait until there is a vacancy. Did the original town meeting authorize a board of 7 members? If it did, we need to know how we got down to 5 members. So
So.
there's a little confusion in the.
We have trouble getting members.
And the confusion has been fixed because the board list that we have in the selectman's office indicated 5 positions.
Okay.
And that was incorrect. The town meeting approved 7.
Okay.
And it's never changed since that vote. So the list has been updated to 7 positions. So 2 of them are vacant.
That's the problem with a lot of the boards, is you got the vacancies and you can't get the alternates in.
Yeah.
Probably what it is.
So at this time, gentlemen, if you have nothing else on that, we do need to make a motion to approve Virgil McDonald as the selectman's representative as ex officio. Fill one of the vacancies.
I make a motion that we approve Virgil McDonald as the voting member ex officio. I keep having trouble with that word, ex officio, to vote on the
Conservation.
Commission.
Second.
Motion made by Paul Lurchelle to vote to have Virgil McDonald as the ex officio member on the Conservation Commission for voting rights. Second by Bill Whitman. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Virgil?
I abstain.
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. Vote is in the affirmative, 1 abstention. Robb's Cove Beach email concerns.
I had this sent over to the Board of Selectmen from Conservation. We've had it, probably 4 meetings now. But they didn't do the easement, the Selectmen did the easement. And I think we gotta sit with the owner and stuff and go over the easements and go over everything before we end up.
Losing it? I think you're right. And I think our town council should be here, so we have to make good notes of it and figure out how we can keep the beach open
And not
during the summertime,
violations.
not have the violation. It's always tough when the town of Alton, I feel, take on easements of this nature, because we are the stewards of these properties.
That's right.
And we have to watch them, like we do our own, and we have to protect those easements. We have to protect the interests of the people who gave those interests. There's a lot of times we can't, especially when the public is so involved and so many different people visit these areas. And the last thing we need to do is have the police department going up there every 15 minutes during a hot summer day and trying to keep peace.
A lot of these are happening at night. They're having fires on the grass areas and stuff. And Mr. Hepburn, they're nice people. But I think he's correct that you can't have open fires there.
No.
You shouldn't drink beer there.
No.
You know what I mean? And I think maybe we.
But unfortunately, I'd hate to bring up mine in your past.
I know.
4 kids.
I know.
Okay? Unfortunately, that is what's happening. But you're right, it's a neighborhood, it's somebody else's property with giving us an easement, and we need to protect that easement so that people can use it, along with the snowmobile club, where they asked for insurance, they have not received it. They're only looking to protect their own personal
Right.
interests at this point. So I think we really need to sit down with them if we can, work this out.
Can we get a copy of the snowmobile club's insurance for these people, since they haven't received it? Can we ask?
Well, we can request it, yes. We could ask Liz to contact them if they would give it to us. But it doesn't help us, where it would help more them. They need to be, the Burns would have to be named as insurance on their policy, that it shows that it protects them.
Well, then that's what they'll have to do.
But I think to keep in all interests, their protection of their interests, of their property, and the easement that they bought into when they bought this property, to keep it open for swimming, at least, we need to work on this and see if we can protect and help and cover their concerns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that was gonna involve Mr. Devers and the police department.
I think that we should ask Ryan to send a couple patrols up there.
I'd like to see
Drive by at night, just take a look.
I would like to see the whole easement though, on what was agreed upon
Yeah.
by the previous owners, and that these folks seem to be wanting to honor that easement.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see the town lose an easement to a swimming area, especially for local life. Because I think one of the questions was, is this open to the general public or just all the residents or some? And I think we need to read that and look into it. But if there's any grant money that was used up there in that easement, be hard pressed to close it to just to have it for residents. Because normally when you receive grant money for anything, you have to open it up to the general public.
I thought we used part of the road reconstruction in there to do that parking lot.
But if you use road reconstruction, you might not be able to restrict it.
Well, I just think you might want to send a cruiser up. If they're littering or they're using it after that, then we should start clearing them out and get them used to.
Is there signs up there saying closed at such and such a
Yeah, the
time?
town has a regular sign up there, closes at dusk. Yeah, we have a big sign up there that tells you no littering, no.
I don't frequent it, so.
We as a town maintain it?
Yes, we
Maintain it, sand,
across the
clean
street,
it?
across the street, Urban Roberts gave us a half acre to put in parking.
Mhm.
And we have, porta potties there.
Yeah,
For people to use.
one anyway.
I've never been on it. I mean, I've seen it
Yeah,
from the lake,
yeah.
but I've never been on it myself.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot that we've been using, I've been using my whole life, 60 years now.
I see it all the time from the
Yeah.
lakeside.
I mean, it's a beautiful sandy beach for kids.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know.
Perfect for kids. But I think that we should ask Ryan to send the patrol through there, just to, if they're in there after dark, or they got a fire started, have them put it out, get them out of there.
Well, it should be a regular patrol.
Yeah.
We, want to get copies of the easement that was drawn up, to see how it was drawn up, and how the town has to be stewards of it. That would be great, and then we'll get back to these folks.
Yeah.
You gentlemen in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on to nonprofit organizations' requirements for funding requests. I'll turn this over to Liz, where we'd asked about it. I think she was going to have maybe some information on this for us.
So, the board had brought this up previously, that you all thought it was a good idea if when the letters went out to them, out to the nonprofits asking for their request for the next, the following March, that they provide some information, such as
Administrative costs.
how many people are you helping in town?
Mm-hmm.
How much money have you spent on the people in town?
Yeah, financials is what they're looking for.
What's the percentage that goes to administrative costs and things like that? So you were gonna talk about that and finalize that tonight, if indeed that is what you want. And just so that you know, the letters already went out, the end of July. I have a sample letter from Mary, and it reads, please submit your request no later than August 31st, including any supporting documentation showing administrative costs versus actual expenses. So I don't know if you want to expand on that, either for next year or
Know how many people they actually help in Alton.
for this year.
Oh, because usually they'll send you, they'll say, we spent $2,500 in Alton, or whatever it is, but they don't tell you, all right, we'll help 12 people at this much.
So this is the file of all the requests that have come in this year. I can hand it around if you'd like to look at it. The sample letter is on the top. Some of them have provided information about how much money has been spent on Alton residents and how many people. Not everyone has provided that information, so.
Should vote no on, it right off the ballot.
And we need a little time to look through those.
Yeah,
Yeah, administrative
Possible leave
costs
that
or
on the
something
desk.
that need to be looked at. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody running the nonprofit and really got a salary that's way up there, which prevents a lot of the money going to what it's supposed to be for. If that's happening with one of these organizations, we need to know about
When
it.
me and Lauren did it years ago, we found a couple of them that were in 91 percentile of administrative costs.
Really?
Really, that was our big fight with it, to set up some type of form for them to be forced to fill out before you can be put on a
I
ballot.
thought I heard that about
So we
the,
went through meeting after meeting to try to figure out the wording and everything else with Jim, figure out the forms that we could send out. And then we did it all after about 4 months of meetings and stuff, and the board wouldn't send them out.
so I mean, if you want, we can have another letter sent out immediately, even to those who have submitted, asking for, clarifications or more information.
There's only two in there that submitted information, which was the Red Cross and the other one was hospice. And then their IRS tax form with theirs.
How many of them you haven't heard from?
We've heard from all.
They're all there. Yeah.
And I did talk to one here in town, saying what the selectmen would be looking for, administrative costs, somewhat financials, and if there was anybody on the payroll. So I did talk to that one nonprofit because they did ask me about it. They should be forthcoming, submitting something, I think.
Can we get a letter sent out to the rest?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want you to
So the
clarify.
consensus of the board
exactly.
that the request
I think this is good, but I think we need to add in there, can you be more specific on what you've done for people in our town?
That's the consensus of the board.
Send out another letter.
Paul?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah.
Roger?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. Paul?
Can I have a second?
So you just asked them about what Phil just asked for?
Well, a little more breakdown on where the money goes to that we raise from the taxpayers to go to these nonprofit organizations.
I know me and Lauren were some surprised on some of the stuff we found out on.
I heard that about the, mental health group.
Well, you have to think about it. A lot of these agencies get money from the community here, the county, the state, the federals, and from grants. So the taxpayers of the community can get hit up to 2 to 3 times being requested to pay into these, because you got the taxes in the town, you got the taxes in the county, and then you got the taxes you pay to the state 2 different ways.
Look at how big Genesis has grown in just 10, 20 years.
A lot of that's federal money and grant money they get.
What was your motion?
Motion is to send out a letter for asking for a more specific breakdown of where the money that is raised in the town of Alton goes to and how many families does it provide to.
And keep the part of the, about administrative costs, right?
Or the administrator? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so there's consensus there if we could.
Okay, and then we'll do that from now on, every year, the same letter with those additions.
Moving on to number 5, street lighting in the Bay Area discussion. You've seen the letters in there that Liz has had in conversation. You see the pages that are there outlining all the street lights in the town.
I've gone through this a little bit, and like you've got 3 or 4 in there, Dan Kelly Drive, Sanctuary Lane. There's a couple in there for Town Beach Parking, for the west side over there. There's a couple in there for Shields Way, East Side Drive, Peggy's Cove, East Side Drive, Rogers Street, which I thought was private.
It is.
There's one out on 11D, and then there's one in Rogers Street. I thought Rogers Street we charged because that was private.
Well, Rogers Street is a private road. We also, at any intersection off a town road for 911 activation, I believe the town a few years ago, and was recommended by the state, that every intersection or road you come to, there's a street light out so the fire emergency apparatus can exact do the location.
I understand that, but we shouldn't be paying for one on private roads.
No, and
Paying, because I think if this is the list and they're in there doubled and tripled, then we're paying doubled and tripled.
So what I think we need to do, there should be a poll number That's where these are at. Let the Board of Selectmen go down and look at them. Take your time. If two of you want to go out and do it together at one time, that's fine. You're not creating a quorum,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
Then go around and look at them. There's quite a few lights here, so you're not going to do it in one day. And take a look at it, because budget time's upon us. But just remember, at every town road, there's always been a light, and some of the private roads, there's been a light off the town roads, just for emergency responders, so they can see the town signs, because at night, as we have all gotten older, we know you can't see that little sign coming down the road.
And I agree with you. If you're coming out on the town road, there should be a light there. I agree with that.
So, and the other one with the bay lights, walking across the walkway, as Liz had pointed out, they're all in line together. So it's hard to just shut every other one off. You can't do
Down
nothing.
here, Echo Point and what's the name of the Brook Road that we're.
Sawmill Brook Road.
Sawmill Brook Road, where Bees. That's all private in there. We shouldn't be paying for a street light down there.
Not out on that road, no.
Got them in there for down in there.
Well, I think that's where we gotta go out and take a look. You guys,
A lot of the private roads and,
We own property there, but we don't own the road. That's a private entity.
when you go out, you'll see the poll numbers on them. Look at the poll numbers, look at the number with the poll number. That will tell you where it is and located. And if you find one that's out on a private road that we're paying for, then we should mark it and say it's in the middle of a private road, or if it's at the end of a private road, that the taxpayer should not have to pay for something. But this is gonna take more than a week to do,
oh, it's gonna take some time.
okay? Are you gentlemen in agreement with that? Okay,
Yes.
so we'll wait for your responses back to Liz on that and put it back on the agenda.
Okay.
Sound good to you?
Yep.
Take a minute.
Next item is number 6, warranty. Purchase of 2020 Dodge Ram. As you had noticed before, we did not go ahead and approve the purchase of that. Mr. Roberts has talked to them. They said from the time when he does take out that extended warranty, they will deduct the mileage off the 75,000. So that just tells me you are paying for mileage. That first 36, when they say it's 3 years, 36,000 miles, you buy the extended warranty, you're paying for 36,000 miles of that along with their warranty. So that's terrible that they do it that way, but it would cost $500 more, and I knew that it would be an added cost and a little extra than it was if we bought it at the beginning. But my feeling is if a dealership or manufacturers offers you 3 years, 36,000 miles, free as your warranty because it's built in their price, then they want you to buy an extended, say 7 years for 75,000, well, you're paying for the first 36 when you're not supposed to be getting it, when you're already supposed to be getting it. So I feel it's kind of double dipping on their part.
To me, to buy
It
the
is.
warranty, 5 years, 75,000, we're doing more than 5,000.
Well, I don't know why we're not doing 5 years, 100,000,
Yeah. We should be upping it.
or 7 years, 100,000, because they are different levels of that.
They've got to be putting on 20-something thousand a year between plowing and,
Well, it gotta be.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I mean, I do 24,000 a year.
Well, some of the trucks haven't, and if you take some of the trucks that we've traded in, they've had them 10, 15 years, and they're trading them in at about 100,000 miles. So it's really hard to say, they're just, a lot of them are just running around town, they're not really going out of town. But he's asked us to reconsider it, to pay for it now, instead of waiting 2 years down the road. But I think it should be a little bit longer than that. I think it should be a 7-year, 100,000.
He is,
Yes, ma'am.
if you want him to,
If we
Yeah, if he's there.
know if we can buy one of the warranties that covers you no matter what breaks.
Oh, it should be a bumper to bumper. If you spend that much money on a 5-year 750, it should be a bumper to bumper. You're gonna spend that much money. At least that's on a consumer line, that's what you can buy. I don't know if they'll allow it on a commercial. But we can bring Mr. Roberts into the conversation. Want to bring him in?
Yes.
Josh?
All right.
Mr. Roberts, how are you tonight? Are you there, Ken?
Very good, and how are you? Yeah, something new with the phones. You gotta press *6 in order to talk to anybody.
At least I don't have to. That's a good thing. Maybe I need that.
Yes.
So did they offer you a 7-year, 100,000?
No, there was only a couple of offers. We asked for all extended warranties, and this was probably the highest we could get our hands on that would basically, we were trying to cover the transmission drivetrain.
Did this cover you bumper to bumper for the 5 years, 75,000?
Not really, no.
Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Roberts?
What does it cover?
I'd have to give you the warranty package. I mean, it covers a lot, but it doesn't cover everything.
And the cost of that again was, Ken?
I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me myself. I think it was like $3,600. Yeah. I put it back with the other package. I know it was in last meeting we talked about it. Because you approved it.
Is that something you bring us to us next week during our workshop on the budget?
Yep, not a problem. I'll give you a copy of the warranties that I can get up from them.
Okay, that'd be great if you could. That sound fine with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll have you hold right in there though, because we're going right into your line.
Yes.
So we'll pass on the warranty purchase tonight of the 2020 Dodge Ram. We'll move on to the winter sand bid award. In your package, gentlemen, you'll see where he has 3 bids that came in. Mr. Roberts is recommending Northeast from Barnstable, New Hampshire, the 2021 for a 3-year contract, 2021 to 2023. Pickup is $775, delivered is $1275 for the first year. 22 is $8.1325 the second year, and third year is $825 picked up, $1375 delivered. All others pickup was less money on the next one, which is GMI.
If it was more.
But their delivery cost was up substantially, almost $2.20, and then it went up $1.70 and for the next 2 consecutive. So delivered price, Northeast gave us the best price. Mr. Roberts is asking you to approve this to the Northeast, 2021 to 2023 for the winter sand contract. Yeah,
That we approve Northeast for the winter sand contract from 2021 through 2023.
Second.
Motion made by Phil Whitman to approve the request by the Highway Division for Northeast to provide the winter sand from 2021 to 2023. Second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Mr. Roberts, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Just one thing, you're going to see this in the budget. This cost actually went up almost $5 a yard. So you're going to see quite an increase in the budget because of that.
Okay. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Any other questions? I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in the affirmative. Moving on to Highway Department, Roberts Cove Road Survey Bid Award.
Make a motion, we give the bid to Ekman Engineering LLC, the amount of $76.50.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald to approve the request from Mr. Roberts to have Ekman Engineering LLC do the survey, the engineering bid from Ekman Engineering for the amount of $76 for funding of the survey work. Do I have a second?
I second.
Rochelle seconds this. Mr. Roberts, at this point, I'm just going to open a discussion just to allow you into them because can't say I remember seeing their name before.
Ekman?
Yeah.
They're actually going to come up. You're going to see those in the cemetery bid as well.
Yes, sir.
They seem to be pretty detailed. And I'm going by the cemetery bid. They're much more detailed than any other bidders. So I think we're going to get pretty much, and I had some discussions on the phone with them what we were looking for. And they all know that this is a survey for possible engineering.
Okay. The motion has been made by Virgil McDonald, second by Paul Rochelle. Any further discussion on this?
I've worked with Ekman off and on through the years, and they're pretty decent company.
I'm familiar with them too.
Easy to work with. They do what they say they're gonna do. I like the way they quote.
All right, gentlemen, if there's no further discussion, I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Vote is in the affirmative. Moving on to number 9, Highway Department truck build, dump body plow and wing plow bid award. Notice that Mr. Roberts has again recommended, Viking Sides.
Viking sides.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes, sir.
is that Viking Sides?
I can't say it either. It's the
See,
same people we awarded the six-wheeler to.
Now, is this for the second 10-wheeler? This is for the one that we're replacing later on in the year?
Yep, it's already been ordered, should be in shortly. Our biggest problem right now is with all problems is anything coming out of Canada is gonna put this back. So once this is awarded, we may see a date of March or April.
We can't find any anywhere else?
Well, there's some discussions between the mechanic and Viking that's gonna be going on tomorrow, right at the Viking shop. And, yeah, there is some equipment other places, but it would be up to Viking whether or not they'll deal.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I don't think we should wait all winter for it.
But wasn't this the truck that we're replacing that we took out of service because of the engine, correct?
Yes,
So we knew there was a possibility that this would not come to tuition until town meeting. And you were gonna run the old Mac.
right, we're gonna run the old Mac. We were hoping to have the new six-wheeler in as well, but it looks like we're not gonna have that.
Okay.
So we might be reduced in force a little bit here as far as plow equipment and sanding equipment.
Okay. Any other discussions or,
I'll put 2 trucks down.
any discussions or concerns?
Yeah, I think we should start looking for bodies that Viking can use
Well,
on these trucks.
conversation is gonna be happening between Viking and the mechanic tomorrow, our understanding, so we'll wait for Mr. Roberts to get back to us. Is that okay, Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, and we had with the second bidder here, we had some discussions with that, if they would lower it at all, you know, to come in competitive, because they had 150 to 160 days just to be able to get the turnover, and they weren't gonna lower it, so I have to do the recommendation, a low bid to the Board of Selectmen, but that can change entirely up to you because of delivery date.
And HP Fairfield was your second lowest?
Yes.
Donovan was the highest, right?
Yes,
Donovan was 150, 160 days out, where HP Fairfield said it would be 60 days after receipt of equipment and chassis, correct?
that's quite a promise. It hasn't been met yet.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's quite a promise, because they're saying 6 days after receipt of equipment and chassis. So if they only get the chassis in the truck, so if they don't get the dump body, it could be out further then, correct?
Yes.
That's kind of an open.
We know that the second bidder has them on the ground in stock.
Okay. All right.
So I know on that, you would pay more, but you'd have that equipment a lot faster.
Okay. I'm talking $11,000 more too.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Are you looking for approval of this tonight for Viking, or are you looking for a consensus, and then you'll come back to us after the mechanic and Viking gets done talking tomorrow?
No, we'll just go the approval of Viking. I mean, they're the lowest bid, and we should really honor that. And I think in the future, there'll be some clauses that are gonna have to be written into any contracts to do with equipment about late fees, and not to our problem, but it's been written in contracts before. There's a penalty of $100 a day when it's not delivered, or $500 a week, or something to that effect.
Gentlemen, do I have a motion to approve Mr. Roberts' recommendation for the 10-wheel, for the dump body plow and wing plow for the new 10-wheel chassis?
Make a motion that we allow Kenny to put it to, accept the bid. Was it
Approve his recommendation.
Approve his recommendation with Viking sides $48,515.
Second, move his recommendation, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Motion made by Reuben Webber to approve Viking size bid of $48,515 for the dump body plow and wing plow for the new 10-wheel chassis. Recommended by Mr. Roberts. Do I have a second? Mr. McDonald, second. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in the affirmative. Moving right along, number 10, Highway Department discussion bid submission, new Riverside Cemetery Engineering. That was quite a lengthy process trying to go through all that, Ken.
Yes, it is, and going back to, as you see, who the low bidder is, and, again, the detail was there, very specific, where in the second bid, I don't think there was quite enough detail there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Explain
that
everything.
that is somebody I think you can work with and get it much closer along the line. And that would be Ekman.
Make a motion that we award the cemetery bid to Ekman Construction for $31,200 for phases 1 through 4.
I'll second.
Motion's been made to the bid from Ekman Engineering for the new Riverside Cemetery, second by Mr. Rochelle. Is that correct?
Yes.
We'll open up discussion. Question I had, I know we brought this up last spring, we talked about it, but I didn't, I know we got some in the capital reserve.
It's a special warrant article,
Who do we have in the cemetery?
5 years.
Which was it, you remember?
50,000.
50,000.
Thank you, Ken. Gotta watch what I say or eavesdrop on.
Yes.
It's just building improvement.
So this particular warrant article was for $50,000, and it was a special warrant article with a 5-year deadline.
That was approved.
Yes, it was approved last year. As we all
If I
know.
may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Yeah, these gentlemen are going to find certain locations by doing borings and whatnot and figure out what the ledge line is and whether or not some of it can be removed. I kind of went over everything with them. You know, the location for the columbarium, not the columbariums, if there's future columbariums where they'd be located. Also, we talked about a new vault, you know, a very big vault. And they'll try to identify the location for that. So any monies, only a suggestion, any monies that are left over from this would probably go for the design of that vault once they find the location.
We should get a hold of the trustees. I mean, the trust fund's got $179,590 in it again. We ought to be able to use a little bit of that if we have to.
Well, the other nice thing is about it, it brings it right down. Phases 1 through 4. So after we get to 4, then we have to go back and talk to them about doing phase 5. Because they got phase 5, phase 6 here on there.
Right.
Yeah, basically the overseer.
Yep.
Yep, so then what you would have to do is bid it out to what they think needs to be done.
Right.
And they would
Gentlemen.
oversee it to make sure it's done properly.
I think it needs to be done, and they explain it quite well in their phases.
No, they do. So do I have a motion to approve the new Riverside Cemetery Engineering to Ekman Engineering LLC for $1,200, phases 1 through 4? Motion is made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the new Riverside Cemetery Engineering, awarding it to Ekman Engineering for $31,200, phases 1 through 4, seconded by Phil Whitman. Any further discussion?
But we already had a motion by Virgil on that. I thought he already made a motion. He did.
Yeah, all right, then I'll rescind my motion.
I seconded it.
All right, I'll take my motion back in a second.
Take my second vote.
Any further discussion on voting this motion? If not, I'll call the board. Virgil?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Ruben? Yes. The motion is affirmative, all in favor? Aye. West Dalton Community Center discussion. Mr. Roberts, you want to stay on the phone with us, you can, or you can depart us at this time until we get to old business.
I can hang out if you'd like.
All right. West Dalton Community Center, gentlemen, I brought this up a couple of meetings ago, talked about it, folks that approached me, nothing's been done with it, nobody has stepped forward with it, but as you can see, through Attorney Sessler, we are the trustees, we hold it in trust, we cannot sell it without court approval and town meeting vote, and the trustees of the trust funds have a say as well. All of it, if you have any questions. Same thing you said before. So I would say if folks down do not want the town to hold on to it, they need to get a petition together and have it put on the warrant article. Other than that, we have to hold it in trust.
I think we should hold it in trust unless we're getting rid of the fire station and everything up there. That was a one-shot deal, and if you're not, instead of selling it, we should be giving it back to the family if we're not.
The fire station is still used. The packed vehicles in.
They respond also from that station.
But the main thing is, if this building is not used, it keeps going in disrepair, and it costs the taxpayers in this community thousands of dollars to keep it up. And for us to open it to the public is gonna cost thousands of dollars to make it ADA compliant, bringing the water in, because it is off a well, so you'll have to have it tested, because the public will be drinking the water. A new heating system, John went through that, he showed the pictures, parts of it will have to be shored up.
Parking.
And I still say, if there's no interest up there, the town should really seriously think about doing something with it. You're putting money into something, or somebody steps forward in that community and they want to make a committee to preserve the Mount Major Community Center.
Mr. Chairman, you can call me sentimental on this one if you want, okay? I attended 3 functions in that building when it was still going. I played at 2 of them and was a guest at another one. And the people who used it, who took advantage of it, none of them were from West Dalton. It was just a function hall with a stage that they thought was appropriate for that thing. Parking, I literally don't remember. I have been told by Nancy Downing that the septic system behind the building was built in such a way you can put a parking lot over it.
They've always parked on top of that.
And I think, yeah, and I think people did, the lawn that's over it now, people did park there. I know I loaded my equipment in there.
They parked
So-
in the fire station.
So, when we had our hearing, it was specific to the people of West Dalton. I wonder if we should have a hearing where the whole town looks at it as another function hall that's available to citizens for being taxpayers in town.
Well,
That's just like saying B&M down here, we don't use that building.
but it's
Why do we
not-
have to keep it there?
But it's not available. You cannot,
It's not available now.
you couldn't now until, well,
B&M down there once a year.
that's right,
Let's tear that down.
that's right.
Tear it down, get rid of the train.
Okay, this doesn't fall under the Historical Society, does it? Because it was a one-room.
It does not fall under them, but I did speak to the president of the Historical Society probably 2 or 3 years ago, and they have no interest in it. At least he was speaking on behalf of himself, not the entire committee. And at that time, he really didn't have an interest in it, but I could certainly check with him again to see if he'd like to take it to his board, to see if they would have an interest in taking it over and fixing it up or whatever the board wishes.
The only reason I bring that up is because of the Alton Bay Community Center. Sounds like they have some interest in that building and
Yes.
what is done to that building and how it's done.
Because it was registered with the National Historic, whatever the organization is, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if the West Alton Community Center is,
I
no, I
don't
haven't.
believe it.
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask if anybody knew.
Well, all I'm saying is, We drive by it, we come by it. Parks and Rec goes up and takes care of the grounds.
Mhm.
Building is stated like the museum is. So either, if we're gonna keep it, we gotta get a coat of paint on it like the museum. Or shingles on a roof, we don't need to because we just fixed that roof. All I'm saying is the more it goes by that it doesn't get used, the more it deteriorates. So either we gotta find a group, and I don't think it takes another hearing, because nobody's gonna show up this time for a hearing except for a
Caveat.
I think what we should do is put an ad in the paper showing interest in the West Dalton Community Center. We're looking for a group of volunteers, come up with a plan to revive it, to use it for public function. And see if anybody steps forward.
Be a good start.
We had a bunch here that stood that night hearing. They were all excited, but no one's ever stepped forward.
Nothing happened, nothing materialized. Thing is, if we do use it, if we decide to use it, it's going to require a lot of work, like you said.
Only reason I'm saying anything about West Dalton, I've had over 20 people come and ask me. They were upset we put a roof on. I supported that roof. I have no problem with it. But when folks in a certain neighborhood tell me, it's, oh, yeah, we're gonna step forward, and none of them ever come forward. And I keep getting asked, why does the town want to keep putting money? So I did ask here, the town attorney says, no, you cannot sell it. We hold it as a trust.
So we put it in the paper.
So we shouldn't wait down the road that it's gonna cost $50,000 to bring it back. We should have a better plan than what we've had on town buildings in the past few years.
I'd be curious to know how often citizens use what is sometimes called the senior center and the building at the bay. How often do people use them for functions? Do you have any idea, Liz?
Yes, both of those buildings, Pearson Road Community Center and Alton Bay Community Center, they are both used regularly. And in fact, exactly. There are a couple of nonprofits that use the one in the Bay, and then regularly. And then Pearson Road Community Center is used by at least one nonprofit, and then also CAP. And then on weekends, people with birthday functions and things like that, they rent it.
What is the current policy if you're a citizen of the town? What's it cost to have it for a function? Anything?
Yeah, there is a fee. I don't recall.
Was it $5 or something?
No, I think it's more than that.
Minimal, but it's not 5.
You see, I'm just wondering, I think we should have another hearing that includes more than just the West Dalton people. But on the same token, we need to find out, is there an interest and a need for a third hall that citizens can use for their functions? Because if there is, then we present to the town, well, this is what it's gonna cost, say yay or nay. You know, but I think we should at least explore it to see if a third function hall is something that would be used, a benefit to the people in town.
Then this should have been done before we went and took it from the family.
Well,
We went to court and took this out of the family's hands, that their grandfather gave the town permission to use, and then we took them to court, took it away. That's when this should have been discussed.
well, that I wasn't a part of.
That's when this should have been discussed.
So
Not once we get it, and then say, all right, we're gonna tear it down. Fair.
Well, that's why I'm proposing that we have another hearing and see if there's interest in a third function hall that the citizens can use.
Well, I'll entertain a hearing when we open up town hall, so you can actually have a real public hearing.
To me, I think if it was fixed up and heated, I think people up there would use it.
I think people from all over town would use it.
They used it for years when it was fixed up and nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be against heating it in the wintertime. I'd have to tell you that.
Well, I looked down the
Turn the heat
basement
on when they're
one
using
time.
it.
You'd have to have the heat on if you're gonna keep the water in there.
We'd have to get estimates to go, what it needs inside, out, and what it would be to pave the back area, septic area, for parking.
We need to check that out.
Front, all this, we'd have to get it priced all together and then present it.
So I think it's a project for next year that we need to work with the town with, and town employees with, to come up with a plan. Before we go move any further.
And I could also have the Parks and Rec director come up with some statistics and costs on how the other two places are, how much they're being used and revenues.
This year has been used much since.
No, not since COVID, but usually down the bay, that one's used every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
I went
night.
to with John Deaver on a cold winter day. The bathrooms were all torn up. There's a bunch of toilets in there. I looked down underneath. It's more like a crawl space than a cellar, really. I would very much doubt that would ever work again.
What, at the West Hall?
Yeah,
No, that's,
yeah.
that was used when it was put in.
You know, John looked at the floor with me, and there was a lump in it that he said would correct itself, that it was just, had to do with the cold weather.
Frosty.
Yeah, and he said to me,
It had a leak right there, too.
and he also said he felt the building structurally sound. It wouldn't have stayed that way if we hadn't done the roof. So, I mean, the question is, does the town want a third function hall that they can use, you know, as part of the benefit of being taxpayers in our town?
So I guess, is that the the board? You want to hold another public hearing when we can get back to holding a public hearing, or do you want to do it on Zoom?
Getting rid of the fire station and community center?
What?
Fire station and community center?
Fire station, I would say no, because they still respond on
They're
it.
still using it. That's,
They have an active fire person up in that area, they still respond from it.
I think we should have a public hearing on it. I have to agree with that.
We have a public hearing when we find out from Emergency Management Team when they allow us to hold a public hearing in person.
Yeah, we'll have to, open Gilman Museum that,
When
that
we
can be
have
done.
it, when we
But
have it.
only 9 people can be in
No,
there.
when we can have a public
Oh,
hearing in person, in town hall, in this room, with the emergency management team. I do not want to try to hold a public hearing on this thing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It should be in here.
Yep.
I know, that's why I asked them.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
So, we will bring this back up when we have the report from emergency management team that we can hold a public hearing when town hall opens back up to the public upstairs.
ready.
Sound good? Okay. All right, so moving on, number 12, we have the fire department, water department fence quote.
Oh, so that has been canceled off of this agenda.
Okay?
Yeah.
Next one will be number 13, fire department hose testing. Has that one been canceled, or is that still on for the
That's
next?
still on, and the chief is attending remotely.
Can you get the fire chief for me, Josh? If you don't mind. Chief, you there with us?
I am. How are we doing?
We're doing wonderful, I think. So we have your hose testing that you want to, have approved tonight?
Yep. So fire attack hose and fire supply hose, per NFPA standards, have to be tested annually. In the past, it's been done off of the pump of the truck, and pumping the truck up to 300 psi is absolutely, you know, it's hazardous to the truck. It's too much psi for that pump to handle for that amount of time. The secondary part of that, there's actually a danger. The idea of hose testing is to see if it's going to burst. And when it bursts, you get these couplings that can go flying. They can take people out. I've had it happen near me a few times in the past, and we've actually, in other places I've worked, we switched to doing hose testing in other ways. This is a third-party vendor. They just come out, and what they do is they come, they look at the truck and see how the hose is loaded on the truck, take all of it off, test it, and then pack it back up. And they do it all at 30 cents a foot, which is a pretty good price. However, we do have a lot of hose. Hard to find more than one quote because there's not a lot of companies that do it, especially in this New England area. There's really only one company that's coming up this way. So the total comes to just over $4,000. And I actually put this into the budget in the fire equipment testing line. And I planned for a little bit more than this. I planned it for about $5,000.
Yeah, it's there, right after the engineering for the new Riverside Cemetery.
It's expensive.
Right, right after Mount Major Attorney Cecil's letter.
How often does this get tested, Jim?
This is annual. It has to be done once a year.
Once a year.
Yep. I was, with the amount of hose we have just over 13,000 feet of hose. I was expecting a higher price per foot, and I actually budgeted $5,000 for it. So this is a better price than we budgeted, and the fact that they take it off, they repack it, and our duty crews are still able to respond to calls. They're not getting all dirty doing all this stuff, and then it keeps them out of the hazardous area where the hoses really where they can burst. And a
Before
burst
this,
hose,
you were doing
we were
it
doing it
in-house?
off the truck, yeah, and it was being done off of the pump because that's the only thing we have to go up to 300 psi, and that wears out the pump as well, which is that's just going to add another cost in the long run to, you know, and it puts a piece of apparatus out of service while it's getting fixed.
So they bring up their own pump and everything and do this, right, sir?
They do it off of a trailer with their own high pressure pumps, and they bring like 14 guys and they get all the hose done in one day.
Jim,
Yes.
this
Hello?
is gonna be coming out of your budget?
Yep. This is I put the money into the line 453, which is our fire equipment testing line.
Okay, I'm just wondering why it was put onto the agenda.
Just because of the high price of it and the fact that I was only able to get the one quote. So it's over $25,000. I only got the one quote. This is the company that's able to do it. I wasn't able to completely get 3 bids.
Wait a minute, over 25?
Oh, it's over 2,500, not 25,000. Sorry.
Okay, so, I can approve anything up to 5,000. If it's over 5,000, then it goes to POS.
Yep. No, I understand that. We were expecting this to be 5,000.
Oh,
And
okay.
it came in under, and I'm just making them aware of, this is a new expense for us. I mean, we put it in the budget, but it's a new expense for the hose testing. It's a new procedure. It's something new, and it's really keeping them in the loop, but I was also expecting it to be more money.
So this is the first time we're testing those?
This is the first time we're using a third-party company to do it.
They were doing it in-house before.
Yeah.
Save some.
So I don't think we even need to approve this. You can do a consensus if you want, gentlemen, because he does have, the town administrator has the authorization to allow this expenditure anyway. So I agree with it.
I'm
I'm
fine.
not gonna make a motion. I'm fine with it. Virgil?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it too.
All right, no, we're not gonna make a motion. We can just pass this on to you to approve it.
Yeah.
For Jim. Chief, you're all set with this one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. The next one is gonna be old business, Highway Department correction, previously awarded gravel bid, previously awarded on 7/30/2020. Mr. Roberts, you still there with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna, please be advised that due to a calculation of the gravel contract should be awarded to Northeast Earth of Barnstable, New Hampshire, instead of Pike Industries of Belmont, New Hampshire. Pike's bid was per ton, not per yard, resulting in increase of delivery price of $26.03. Please see below for the corrected breakdown of all bids received. So we awarded the bid. Did you notify Pike that they had the bid?
Yeah, we talked to Pike about this and told him, you know, because they didn't follow, one is they didn't follow the directions. That's the reason we didn't pick up it was a ton price until we went back and reviewed it again. And it's like, well, the conversion is about 1.5 tons per yard. And when you do that conversion, that's the number you come out with. So we talked to Pike about it and they agreed with it, that it was, the calculation was correct and this is the way it came out. So we notified them right then and there over the phone that it wasn't being awarded due to this fact, that it had to be awarded to someone else with a lower bid. And they agreed with it without a problem. You know, when you request a yardage price and somebody puts in a ton, that's what happened.
I make a motion, we award the gravel contract to, Northeast Earth.
Second.
Discussion. There should be a motion made to revoke the bid, the contract price to Pike Industries due to errors on the cubic yard versus ton price.
I take back my second.
Okay,
And that should be revoked first, then redo the gravel award to Northeastern.
okay, so we need to take the bid away from Pike Industries.
Because you already awarded the bid to Pike Industries, even though we don't have a letter stating that they agree to this. which I'm a little leery of, they should submit a letter that they acknowledge that they made an error and that they understand that the town is in a position where they have to revoke that bid. I would like to have that letter from them, but,
How worried about that are you?
well, it's a liability. We're always talking liability and everything, so. But as long as the error has been picked up and it's documented and the phone calls to Pike are documented, I will go ahead along with it at this point. But in the future, we should, if we're gonna revoke a bid from somebody, there should be acknowledgement from the person that was awarded the bid that they're losing bid because of certain conditions. I do.
Agreed.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have no problem in putting this on a future date, and I'll get those letters for you.
If you could, that, I would just appreciate just for the town's
Yep,
end of it.
Thank
You
you.
good?
I have no
All right.
issues with that.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we can table this, gentlemen, you agreeing with that? Okay, so we will table, Highway Department, old business. Number 2 will be Fire Department security window installation. Thank you, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chief, are you back with us again?
No.
Hi, Chief. So we're sitting here talking about your security window,
Yes.
granite state glass. I saw where you tried to go out and get local contractors, you had no success. And the
Yep,
quote from
I had
Granite
about
State-
4 local contractors that asked for more information, and then after that, I never heard from them again. I chased a couple of them down and didn't really get anywhere with them. So, Granite State Glass came in, checked it out, and quoted it the next day. There's a picture of the security, well, the picture of the drawer they're going to put underneath and attached.
So is there any money available for this through the PPE, where this is probably, where this is kind of also kind of dealing with this? This is one of the reasons we wanted to go to it?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping to do is, and I'm assuming we can do this as a town, use the building capital reserve to fund it in the first place, and then when FEMA reimburses, reimburse that fund.
Okay.
And that's an if FEMA reimburses. There is always no guarantee in that, but this is something that really needs to happen regardless.
Right. The town administrator is thinking that it's possible that we wouldn't be able to refund that expense account because of that.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's correct. But it could be expended out of the emergency management budget, the line that has been opened up for these COVID expenses. And then the reimbursement would then reimburse that line.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's up to you guys which line you want to use. It is a building improvement, so I have no problem saying that's what that capital reserve is for. But it is also, part of the, state of emergency, and that's what that line's for. So I'll leave that to you guys.
The actual bid's gonna be $66.98?
No, the full bid. Yeah, he just wrote in what the cost of that drawer was. But that is part of that same miscellaneous line for the 3,100.
So it's 5,400.
It is, yep, the final bid is 5,400.
400.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation of the fire chief to have Granite State Glass install the glass and drawer receiver in the building and to take it out of the emergency management line item.
So moved.
Motion made by Ruben Orr, second by Paula Rochelle to approve the $5,400 by the fire department awarded to Granite State Glass. Any further discussion from the emergency management fund line item? And no further discussion, I'll poll the board. Phil Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Selectmen's reports at this time, and I will start with Mr. Rochelle.
Okay, first of all, we had, the second ZAC meeting. We've chosen all the, voted for the officers. We're reviewing the zoning ordinances, and the ones that, did not pass last year, the amended zonings, so we're looking at those again and revisiting those to see what we can look at to change wording or to make it easier to understand. We're also looking in and discussing, for new business would be Airbnbs and tiny homes and cabins are some of the new things that we're looking into. So we're well on the way, and we look to be moving along rather quickly. Secondly, the Water Bandstand Committee, we met just a day before the ski show, and we're not meeting until tomorrow night. But as of January 2020, the escrow account was $3,579.56. Donations from January to August 2020 was $3,580. The raffle and the ski show donations were $1,220. So then that was for the mini bandstand was the raffle. So far, as of August 26th, the new balance in the escrow account is $6,948.93. And we really want to thank everybody for all their donations and all the support for the Water Bandstand bands and music out there that's really starting to go through, and everybody's liking that. And the ski show was a really big hit this year. So that was a couple of things I wanted to put in there. Thirdly, I just wanted to ask Liz a question, if I may. And this is to do with the town moderator for the primary elections. And she brought to my attention that she received an email about a week before the town elections that they were not going to be allowed to bring in pizza and bring in any food from the outside. Was that correct? Do you have anything on that?
Yes, I sent the town clerk an email on that and the moderator as well, the same email, that there was chatter on the manager's listserv from other communities who were not allowing food to be hot food, open, trays of sandwiches for the election workers. And that a lot of these municipalities were either requiring the employees to bring their own meals, or that the municipality would pay for the meals, but they would be individually wrapped. No coffee stations were being opened, which would allow for congregating, no trays of donuts, and so on and so forth. And that was informational to the both of them. They already knew it.
Okay, yeah, it was brought to my attention by the moderator.
They didn't have to follow that protocol.
No, it was just
It
informational
was informational
of
only.
how other municipalities.
Because I'm
were
sitting
doing it.
there last night, the other night, when we were counting up the ballots, I was asked if I wanted some homemade chili. So I'm sitting there saying, well, we could bring in homemade chili, but they couldn't go to a business and get a pizza.
And that's not fair to do to the people that volunteer up there, is not feed them and stuff when you're there all day. That's unfair.
Well, the point is, it was misinterpreted.
Yes, it was.
It was, by the sounds of it, Paul.
Yes, the moderator came up to me and asked if the selectmen requested that. And I said that didn't come before the selectmen.
In fact, I had an email back from the town clerk, and they had already been talking about this.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it was definitely some sort
There
of.
was some sort of misunderstanding there, so they were under the impression they couldn't have food, and they were concerned being there all day with just coffee and a couple of small things.
In fact, I'm going to send that email out that I sent out to all of you so that you clearly see what I said.
I believe you. You don't have to.
I-
You don't have to really, but I thank you because she didn't, I wasn't receiving any of the emails. This was just told to me. And I was asked if it was the selectman that made that.
Could we send an
I said
email
no.
down?
It was not a decision.
I was under the impression it was the emergency.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, they already know that. And I never said they didn't.
Well, that's not the way it came across to the selectmen at the polling station yesterday.
Okay.
Just that they were not allowed to have.
That's how it was brought.
That was right. That's why we just wanted to try to clarify it, so there's a miscommunication.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Question for you, Bill.
Yes.
Are you gonna take up private roads and right of ways? This is a big issue with planning board. We've got a bunch of people coming in on it. And we've had a hell of a time with it.
Okay.
And there's, in the ordinances, there's nothing really in there that says you can use them. we'd like to get them clarified.
Get it clarified.
Yeah. I've asked for it the last few years. We've been fighting about 4 years now. If you can just look into it.
Private roads and right-of-ways.
And right of ways, yeah. Because a lot of people, they have their land, they have good blotches of land, but they want to give their kid a right of way to put a cabin behind them to kind of oversee them in their old age.
Okay.
And the town don't allow it. And I think that they should allow it to, and we've had not a lot, but quite a few people come in, the planning board, and we've been fighting on planning board about it. We've had Jim Sussler down.
Mhm.
So we can just
Well, definitely,
discuss it, look into it, and
we'll bring it up. Definitely.
you know, get us a way to either do it, you know what I mean, so these people can move on, or,
Yeah, we're going through all the ordinances. So we're going through everything in the book and then going over the ones that were rejected last year and going over some new ideas. So yes, definitely. Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else, Paul?
No, that's
Bill? Virgil?
Conservation, we're getting ready to walk the different lots. We had a little problem over on by 11D, Timber Ridge. Some pins got moved, but that's all straightened out now. Planning board, we are busy. That's it.
For myself, I don't have any. It was nice for the turnout and beautiful day for the election yesterday. Thank you for all that taking part in that yesterday and helping them out.
Quite a turnout.
Thank you too.
For a primary, yes.
How many votes?
1,407. And I was told the last state primary, we only had 900. That's quite an increase.
For a primary, that was
And,
outstanding.
yeah, many more absentee ballots than usual.
Well, I've been thinking what I can write up for an article, line people up so they show up for the town elections. I've been thinking about what I'm gonna write for a petition article to get people to vote. Plan on it.
Anything else, Ms. McDonald? Okay. So moving on to mine, the budget committee will be meeting, there's 2 meeting dates later this month. And then secondly, I do not have anything for emergency management because my manager is out on maternity leave for the next 6 weeks. And so there's only 2 people at the store if I leave on Wednesday. So if any of you gentlemen want to appear on Wednesday afternoons with the emergency management team, you're more than welcome to. I will not be able to attend. That's all I have for you. So at this point, we'll move on to approval of the minutes, August 17th, regular.
What about TA report?
Oh, I did skip over. No, I had a line drawn through that.
We have to.
I'll move back to the TA report. Yes, ma'am, the floor is yours.
All right, I have 2 items. The first one has to do with the fire department central station floor. I'd like the board to allow the fire chief back on the speaker so that he can talk to you about it. You have pictures at your seat. Is the board okay with the fire chief?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, hello again.
Hey, chief, you're back. Floor is yours.
Before you have 3 pictures of one of the bays in the central station. That's where our engine 1 has been parked. The line that is cracked there is pretty much along the line where the edge of the truck is parked, where the tires are. There's about 1.5 inch dip in the floor there as well. It seems to be just caving in and collapsing. I did speak with Ken from the highway department. A few years back, many years back, they actually had to dig up where the ladder truck was parked and redo the concrete floor that was there. In speaking to him, basically the concrete that is in these 3 remaining bays is about 3 inches thick, and it's more like a mortar than a concrete. It's not quite the right stuff. There also is no reinforcement in it. There's no wire mesh. There's no rebar. He also explains that underneath it, the gravel that's there and the stone underneath it is not the right stuff. It's not compacted right. So it's going to continue to have these problems with the weight. Basically, I'm trying to get you guys up to speed. Hopefully for your next meeting, I plan on having a bid spec for you guys to look at. We're going to have to put this out to bid to have somebody come in and fix the floor. The question I have for you guys, right now it's only this floor that's damaged, but the other 2 bays are going to be in the same boat. So we can repair just the broken bay, cut it out and fix it, or we can just bite the bullet and repair all three. I truly have no idea on cost of this kind of concrete work or what it's going to take, and I don't know what they're going to get into once they start digging. When they did the initial bay, Kenny said they went down probably about 30 inches or so to get down to bare mineral so they could put new fill in.
You have to go down that deep, they're gonna be close to the water table, I would think.
You're putting in, what are you putting
You
in?
may.
Why
I didn't
30
hear.
inches?
Because of the compaction and the stuff underneath is no good. You
Yeah.
take it out, put stuff in.
It was that bad?
So you have to have at least 30 inches to get it compacted up to hold
They
the.
figure they're just sitting in an old sand pit that was there for years, and there's no substantial compaction there. I have no problem with that, chief, I mean, you have plenty of amount of money in the fire department building improvements fund,
Yep.
so we'd have no problem with
We're
that.
gonna try to keep this, are we gonna ask some of the people in town, like Dennis, Gray and, Bobby Burton and them? Bayside and,
Oh, put it up.
The plan is to build a spec, have you guys look at it and get it out to absolutely local contractors.
okay.
Okay. That works.
Okay, chief, I'm in agreement with that, you gentlemen in agreement with this?
Yes.
All right, you have a consensus, chief,
my-
yes,
my-
anything?
My only question is I recommend doing the 3 bays that are left rather than just the one broken bay, but like I said, that's gonna be up to you guys.
Can you get us a price on one bay and versus the whole floor, the other 3 bays?
Okay?
All right?
I think you should at least go 4,000-pound mix.
And fiber mesh.
So my plan is to have Ken help me write the spec because this is definitely out of my wheelhouse.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
He'll bring it back to you and then you guys can talk about.
Yep.
6x6.
All right, chief, you got our blessing on that. One price for the one bay and one price to fix the rest of the bays.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
Wire mesh and fiber.
Moving on, Liz?
Yep, next item is the solid waste revolving fund.
Mm-hmm.
You asked for
Yes.
something from the attorney in regards to whether the revolving fund, which is used for recycling, could also include non-recycling. And you've got it.
I think we should be looking at amending that at least for what we charge to be brought in. So the pressure treated, if I'm not mistaken right now, we do not use any of the money because it is not recycled. Mattresses and stuff, we do not use a recycling fund because it is not recycled. So I think anything the town charges for should be able to at least be expended from the revolving fund to pay to get rid of it. I feel. I don't know how you gentlemen feel about that, but
What's in his revolving fund now? Because that's used in off, we've tied quite a bit into it now.
the amount of money he said the other night, that's actually is what he's taken in this year, not what's in the budget now, not what's in the amount now.
A little over 470,000 currently.
It's be gone before the end of the year, or down.
I'm not saying to use all of it, but I'm just saying if you're charging folks to go on that scale to get rid of stuff, that money should not be just going to the general fund. We should be able to use that money to get rid of it like we do all the other recyclables.
Should be able to.
So just so you, just for point of clarification, when the revenues for non-cycling are paid to the town, they do go into the general fund, but they are shown as the revenue to offset the budget line, the expense in the budget line.
Yeah,
So it's like a
that's
wash.
what you tell me.
Yep.
I'm just saying in years like this, it would have been helpful to be able to use it where we're not gonna be close to 20 to 25% over budgeted. I think it's a thought that we can have go through the next 2 months before we do up to warrant articles for the year and see how we feel about it then.
I'll talk to the superintendent as well.
Okay? All right, Virgil, okay? I'll let you put your opinion.
I'm just looking at these funds, it says water main expense not created yet, 55,000 in it. We planning ahead, are we?
That's all I have
That's all you sure?
for open session, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Moving on, approval of minutes, gentlemen. August 17th, regular session.
I make a motion, we approve August 17th, 2020 minutes.
August 17th again.
Motion been made by Virgil to approve the August 17th, regular meeting minutes.
1 second. 17th, there was something in that, I think.
There's something in this?
I'll second it for discussion.
Was it about the boat ramp?
No, it was a non-public,
Oh,
so I'm good.
Motion been made and seconded. Do I have any further discussion? All those in favor? I'll pull the board. Bill?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yes.
Virgil?
Yes.
Ruben, yes. Vote to affirmative. August 17th, non-public.
I make a motion, we approve the August 17th, 2020 non-public session and not to divulge any.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald to approve the non-public minutes and not to divulge anything. Do I have a second?
second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll pull the board. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Mr. McDonald? Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
I just have an issue with one of the discussions.
Okay, then we need,
August 17th?
Yes, this is August 17th, 2020, non-public session.
How do you fix,
We have to,
go into non-pub?
yeah.
Yep, that's
non-public.
it's more of just a correction.
So the motion at this time is tabled until we come out of non-pub.
Thank you.
August 24th, budget meeting.
Make a motion to approve a non-public session for August 24th, 2020.
Second?
Motion been made to approve the August 24th budget meeting minutes, second by Virgil McDonald. Any other further discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth abstained, 3. Motion passes 3, 1 abstention. August 24th, non-public.
Motion that we approve August 24th non-public session and not to divulge.
I have to ask something. That's the one I just approved was August 24th, 2020. We're doing it again?
No.
August 17th.
24th. August 17th was the first one.
That was the first one, and that was the one I asked.
Yeah, and August 24th was the same.
August 24th was the one I just made a motion on. No, 17, we tabled to.
We tabled the non-public
Then we went to August 24th.
for public, for regular minutes for the budget meeting.
Okay, sorry, because I got non-public on my page.
Now we're on the non-public of August 20th.
Got it. I was a page ahead, sorry.
Motion's been made. Did I have a second?
Second.
Made to approve the non-public session, not to divulge. Second by Paula Rochelle. Any discussion? I'll pull the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Abstention. So the motion passes 3, 1 abstention. Moving on to August 31st, budget meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the August 31st, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Motion's been made to approve the August 31st budget workshop minutes, second by Paula Rochelle. Any discussion? Being none, I will pull the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Abstention.
Make a motion that we approve the August 31st, 2020 non-public session and not to divulge.
Second.
Gotta go back to one, gentlemen. We gotta go back to the 31st, 20 minutes. I was here that night. You got me down as excused.
You're here on the non-pub.
Well, I was there making motions in the budget. So that needs to be changed. That's why I hadn't finished fully going all the way to saying I was abstaining, because I'm looking at myself making motions, but yet I'm abstaining.
I was here.
Reuben Wentworth, Chairman, excused absence for August 31st. That should be taken out of there. I was present for the meeting.
Okay, I'll make sure that's done.
Sure you didn't come in just for non-pub?
Yes, sir. So that did carry the vote to approve those, and I will vote in favor of this, yes. So next one will be August 31st, 2020, non-public session. Do I have a motion to approve those and not to divulge?
You already made the motion. You do it again? I make a
That's why
motion.
I'm asking, because I kind of stopped you in the middle of your motion.
I make a motion that we approve the August 31st, 2020 non-public sessions and not to divulge.
And I say.
Motion made by Virgin McDonald to approve the non-public session of August 31st, 2020, non-public and not to divulge, second by Phil Whitman. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman? Yes. Mr. Lachelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Motion carries. Consent agenda approval.
Mr. Chairman, may I also say that I did make a mistake. It was not non-public. The question I have, it was in the workshop minutes of August 24th.
Okay.
So
So we're going back.
I'd like to retract.
So we need to go back to approve the August 17th, 2020 non-public.
August
August 17th, 2020. No,
August
August
24th?
17th.
17. Non-pub, I got them right here.
Yep.
I'd like to have a motion to approve
I
that.
make a motion that we approve August 17th, 2020 non-public session and not to divulge.
Second.
Motion been made by Virgin McDonald to approve the August 17th, 2020 non-public, second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Both in the affirmative.
Again, I apologize because I got mixed up on which page I was on for which thing it was. We went on the workshop minutes for August 24th that was approved. I did have a comment about a discussion. If it's something that I can mention now.
Yeah. You can bring it up now. No, I'll let you bring it up.
Okay. In the discussion with the emergency management team, at the Selectmen's meeting, after reading the lengthy paragraphs on the discussion for when we're gonna reopen, it says, and if you come all the way down to the last paragraph, where, on page 2, where it says, there have been cases of, reinfection reported, but not confirmed and could change the dynamics. Ryan Heath offered on behalf of the emergency team to meet the board. That's not how it happened. I asked a request. I do believe, now, I had some comments that I made during this, and none of my comments are in this, during that whole session. And, I know that Phil made a few comments, Virgil did, and so did Bob. None of mine are in here. And I personally asked for 30 days.
And that's what I've been saying. That
That's incorrect.
the minutes should say word for word what we have in meeting. So if we go back months from now or years from now and look up minutes, it should be in them.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that it was, we definitely talked about it back and forth, but I had asked for 30 days or even revisit it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's right. It was like, you come back and revisit it in 2 weeks. None of that's in this wording.
Or you just bringing it up for informational purposes?
I'd like to,
Okay.
Well, we could actually, it'll carry through tonight on these minutes here, that you want a correction put on those minutes. We can make that motion now, that Mary goes back and reviews those minutes, and that we will amend them at our next meeting. We will amend those minutes again.
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure, and I think everybody else can agree that I had quite a few comments on that, and it was my suggestion to revisit this in 30 days.
I have a motion to have Mary go back and review the minutes of the August 17th, was it?
Yes.
August 17th, regular.
August 24th.
August 24th, regular meeting, budget,
Page 2.
page 2, to review the minutes there of what Mr. Rochelle had stated during those comment periods, and we'll bring them up the next meeting to amend the agenda if needed.
Thank you.
Amend the minutes
It's
if
just a
needed.
matter of making the minutes correct. And that there was comments in there and none of my comments are in there.
Well, actually, more than just his comments, I mean,
All
everybody's
of us.
comments, we had quite a discussion.
No, it was a long discussion. Maybe it got too long and it got abbreviated.
Well, that's what I've said before, that the minutes should reflect what we're actually doing.
But, well, yeah, I mean, I know.
Come up later on.
Point.
I'm just saying, I read through it and that's it. A few comments weren't mentioned.
Okay, moving then on to the consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted to us on September 9th, 2020?
Motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Consent agenda.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald, approve the consent agenda as submitted on September 9th, 2020, second by Phil Whitman. Any further discussion? Poll the board, Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote carries. All in affirmative. Discussion or any action on request appointments, no discussion, majority vote required to allow or not to allow, we none seeing. I will entertain a motion to go into non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2E.
And A,
Hmm?
E and A. This is for exiting,
Yeah, I said A. Oh,
You did
add
say-
A, excuse me.
A and E.
A and E.
Yep.
I did say E at the end. My motion, yeah, I did.
I heard the E.
So A and E. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second to my motion?
So moved.
Not, I'm gonna go home. I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. We're now in non-public session, folks, at 7:34. We will be back in public session after non-public, and we will bring you back up on audio. We're now back in public session at 7:42.
Oh, yes, we gotta wait for him to turn everything back on.
Folks, we're back in the public session at 7:42. Gentlemen, I'd like to have a motion not to divulge the non-public sessions underneath A, affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, and B, render a proposed action ineffective.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Gentlemen, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:43?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second. Motion been made by Paul Rochelle to adjourn the selectmen's meeting at 7:43, second by Phil Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. The meeting now is adjourned.